What is up, guys? Rick Kakas here, and today we have another Anthem update, bringing you the latest information about BioWare's epic-looking new game, Anthem. Now, in this video, the information is coming from Brennan Holmes, who is the technical design director at BioWare. He has a very active presence on Reddit and has been replying to a bunch of the comments and questions about the game. So we've got a first look at some new information about the new IP. So let's get started here by discussing the open world. Now, judging from the gameplay reveal trailer, the world certainly looked massive. The player was flying through all of these different geological structures, going even underwater, but just how big is it? Well, a Reddit post was made asking, will this game be true open world? This is the main selling point for me, whether it be true open world like World of Warcraft with limits for ocean distance, or if it will be like Destiny where the map is just a subzone. Now, someone replied to that post saying, we won't really know until we get more information. However, I am hoping it is more like The Division than Destiny. Now, The Division and Destiny, again, they do have two different ways of doing open world. The Division has a massive open world part of its massive map called the Dark Zone. The Dark Zone players are just in this one giant server, and all of it is the same technical open world. If you're at the very bottom of the Dark Zone and someone at the very top is going on a manhunt, you will still see that person doing so. You're all in the same server. Destiny and Destiny 2 have pretty large worlds, but they are broken up into different subsections, and these subsections are different servers. If you're moving from one to the other, you will join a different lobby per se. Now, Brennan Holmes actually replied to this comment saying it's a bit of a mix. Destiny has some very cool server technology that allows them to host migrate seamlessly. This means that they can partition up spaces to be fairly small, which helps avoid taxing servers, but this is speculation on his end. We're taking a different approach. We have different tech, so our areas are a fair bit larger, but there will likely be some loads between some of the areas. We're still figuring out the exact details on this stuff. So there you go, that is the first mention of actually how big the Anthem open world is, but we've got even more. A response to this comment said, it would seem to me that if this core architecture still hasn't been decided on, Anthem is probably a lot further away than we hope. A response to that said, it sounds like they've decided on the architecture and have a good idea of what they're doing, but they're deciding on the small details. With Brennan Holmes replying, yup, pretty much this. And we've got even more information in the same thread from another person's comment saying, I recall the quote from the investor call, Anthem, our new IP from BioWare, will introduce a contiguous, I assume he's saying continuous, open world that is ever changing. So, as to not go into spoilers, I think I'm right that games devs in the past have used several tricks to stitch adjoining zones together, having a load without it looking like a load. Tight corridors, gaps in rocks, tunnels, etc. Dragon Age Inquisition, even with an open world zone, would sometimes have a load screen, such as a garden or a mansion. I guess this is all about juggling all of those priorities I hear about. Now, Brennan Holmes responded even to this saying, yeah, basically. The trick is mainly that you have to hide visually all the stuff that you want to load out and load in. So in an open world game, maybe you go into a giant canyon, and as you move through it, you unload the big area behind you. A bit later on, you load the big area in front of you. So, quite a few comments there, and it's actually some interesting information. So it does sound like Anthem will use somewhat of a similar approach to Destiny 2, where it is a true open world game. Again, remember, you can apparently run into different players within Anthem, and although the Division may have a larger overall chunk of area, it is still one chunk of the map. The vast majority of the Division's overall map, you're just alone or with your party. You're not going to run into random people. So for Anthem to accomplish this throughout their entire map, they will have to have those different servers per se, those different parceled up load areas, more similar to Destiny. But we have a dev here saying that the areas in Anthem are a fair bit larger than Destiny's, which is interesting because some of Destiny's areas are actually pretty big. If you think about the EDZ, even different portions of the EDZ, there's a lot going on. It's a pretty large area, enough room for public events. There's also a bunch of lost sectors and other kind of passageways to go, so Anthem being even more substantial than this is definitely a great sign for you open world fans. Also, the comment about them deciding their architecture is a good one. It does mean that Anthem is likely to hit the fall 2018 release date without having to be delayed. If Brendan Holmes hadn't said that, and yes, they were still deciding on architecture, it would definitely look more towards that this game is getting delayed. And moving on from there, we've got some information about Anthem's social space. A post was made on the Reddit asking, will Anthem have just one social space or more than one? To this, Brennan Holmes replied, we're discussing some of this kind of stuff internally right now. What would you like to see? So already, pretty interesting, because I think from the trailer where we saw that one marketplace area, everyone pretty much assumed, okay, last vestige of humanity held up in this one city, it's going to be exactly like Destiny. There's going to be one big tower, social space, marketplace area. But with a developer coming out and saying, hey, we're still deciding on this stuff, means that no, that could actually be the case that there's several different explorable outposts in this large world. And that's actually pretty interesting. Now, at the time, this was actually a very new post, and guys, I couldn't help myself. So I replied, and it actually became the top voted reply to this comment, saying, realistically, one main hub where you can find all of the basic vendors and quest givers is going to suffice for most people. However, it would be cool to have smaller outposts that have some vendors like basic merchants and some specialty vendors / quest givers that would be geared towards the higher level players who have explored enough to find these outposts. Essentially, one main area like the tower in Destiny 1 was nice. Having somewhere where you could go and do most of the things, like if you're playing with your friends, playing the Crucible, and you're like, okay guys, we gotta go to the tower. Everyone would go to the tower, and they would all have stuff to do. It was very convenient. But you also had these other social spaces, like the Reef, that did have specialty vendors, like the Trials of Osiris vendor with Brother Vance. So you would go there specifically for those specialty activities. I feel like Anthem could make good use of this, having the main quest givers and the main merchants in that one area, the merchant kind of area that we saw in the trailer, and then having these smaller outposts out in the wild that would have a couple of, again, specialty vendors for higher level players. Perhaps like a vendor that could change the color of your armor, something that's not necessary, you won't usually need to do, but you would go there to be able to do that once you've gotten the armor set you want, for example. So if we do have that kind of a system in Anthem, I guess you have your boy to thank for that. But now I'm going to interrupt myself here because we've got some brand new information that just came out whilst I was editing this video. So someone asked the question, how much pull does EA actually show within BioWare Studio? This is obviously a big topic right now. Going on to say, I'm asking this question because everyone is dooming this game due to EA being the publisher, but do they even have that much pull within the game design of Anthem? I understand EA owns BioWare, but what if EA just said, make a game that sells, do whatever you need? Can one of the BioWare employees clarify what EA ownership means for the game design of Anthem from the team? Do they dictate what must be in, or are they more or less giving you free reign to design Anthem based on your studio's vision of Anthem? Some BioWare peeps have explained how and why a lot of things work and why they do. Hopefully they can for this one as well. And I think that is a very good question. EA is certainly in the doghouse right now for absolutely ruining, per se, Star Wars Battlefront 2, forcing microtransactions upon that game, or at least everyone assumes it was EA that did that. And of course, the game somewhat flopped, it got huge community kickback, and EA is publishing Anthem. So, will Anthem be filled with loot boxes? That's everyone's main worst case scenario. Well, oh boy, Brendan Holmes actually did reply to this, which I've got to give him props right off the bat. The fact that he's responding to this question, I never thought would happen. It's certainly something that Bungie never does involving, the Reddit and Activision and so on. But Brendan Holmes says, it's fairly complicated. It may not be clear, but we're actually part of EA. We were purchased back in 2007. EA also isn't just one entity. There are many different groups and teams that help and support us with a lot of different aspects of development and publishing. As an example, we collaborate with Frostbite teams in North America and Europe on features and workflow improvement. We also work with various groups within EA that provide a lot of our back-end tech for our online infrastructure. I'm not going to name them all because I probably screw it up. In our day-to-day, the larger organization isn't really involved. It's all internal. We have goals and priorities, and we're working towards those. I'm not sure if this answers your question. So there you have it. Now, does this answer our main concerns? Frankly, no. And we're not really gonna know until the game actually comes out. We can see to the degree the microtransactions go, if they exist at all. But I will say some good news here. The fact that he's actually replying to this comment, again, is fantastic. If EA was really involved, and if the studio was kind of nervous because they knew they had to introduce these stupid microtransactions, the approach would probably be to just shut up and not say anything. But so he's replying, that's good, and he's also saying, again, in our day-to-day, the larger organization isn't involved. EA isn't coming in and standing over them as they work, or at least that's what Brendan Holmes is claiming. So that is definitely a push towards a more positive aspect for Anthem. And yeah, I said this on Twitter, I'm gonna say it again. EA, yes, they deserve a bunch of crap for the stupid crap they pull, especially with what just happened with Star Wars Battlefront. However, EA has also published fantastic games. Titanfall 2 is a great example of that. Not plagued with microtransactions, a full game, and all of the DLC is free. Titanfall 2, published by EA, is an extremely fair game. Even Battlefield 1, recently published by EA, is another very fun game. It's a game I really enjoy, and the microtransactions in that are totally unoffensive. It's just weapon skins that you really don't need, and frankly, you can earn them reasonably without paying. So that's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. EA does do dumb crap, and we give them crap for it, but people forget EA also publishes pretty fantastic games. EA does amazing things, and EA completely ruins things. Frankly, who knows what's going to happen? I think that's one of the main worries. Is this going to be a good EA title, or is this going to be a crap EA title? So EA really has some things to prove to the community, and it's certainly noticed what happened with Star Wars Battlefront, so I'm very hopeful that the head honchos at EA are going to say, okay, we can't do this 2 games in a row, we're going to have to pull back with all of the microtransactions and just actually publish a solid game. In any event, guys, that is it for the new Anthem information, a look at its open world and a discussion on its social space. I was actually very surprised to hear the devs say, hey, we're still discussing that. I could have sworn it was just one social space area like Destiny, but it's interesting that that may not be the case. Anyways, guys, again, that's it for the video. If you enjoyed and want to see more Anthem content, be sure to slap that subscribe button. If you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.